mi vida y en una pantalla y he visto mi vida y en una pantalla son todo sonrisa, fuera no hay nada, todo cambia y vuelve a brillar, línea perfecta en la inmensidad. Hay un lugar donde todos ellos me quieren. Hay un lugar donde todos ellos me quieren. Mira y sonríe. Mira y sonríe. Tendremos nueva piel, tendremos nueva cara y el sol brillará a través de la pantalla. Tendremos nueva piel, tendremos nueva cara y el sol brillará a través de la pantalla. Seremos eternos en esta pantalla. Hay un lugar
la fuerza que no tiene mi calma. Centellas de silencio, marcas en tus palmas, humo de canela, compás y tierra, designios del fuego para el fin de la guerra.
Ya suena este conjuro, fantasmas y demonios.
suena este conjuro y en la hoguera, fantasmas y demonios que se queden fuera. Suena este conjuro y en la hoguera, fantasmas y demonios que se queden fuera. Y al tran tran suena la candela, y al tran tran y la pena se lleva, y suena la candela y la pena se lleva y se lleva y se lleva y se lleva. Nada del fuego y de la pena, deja que te cante y que rompa las cadenas.
To die daily allows you to resurrect yourself as a new being. Pare bophelo ke ntwa.
Okay, call the board. Yeah. MFR, Souls, take one.
Interview with Josiah, take one.
What makes the song Amapiano, it's mostly the bass line. We took sounds from house, a little bit of guaito, a little bit of commercial sound.
And then there's this other instrument, there is panisa. Like beep, beep, beep. And then there's a shaker. And when it comes to the bass line, you need to talk to the people. Like,
Piano, 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 piano,
piano, lingo. Kubo, what a kokota.
Piano is about the people. And I really convinced whether
Nandi is piano.
No, the moves, you gotta be.
Now go to piano, people are happy.
It's a beautiful sound, it's a beautiful culture, it's a beautiful lifestyle.
Amapiano is here to stay, and it's the future.
But yeah, it's not enough. Still want more.
Wazazi kijijini watakuwa watoto wao wasiopita.
Good evening, ladies and gents, boys and girls. It's my absolute honor and pleasure to introduce myself to you all. My name is Tebogo. I am your host for today, and I welcome you all to the Rustenburg Film Festival 2024. Today on the Inside Story, Renale Paballo and Tebogo, they'll introduce themselves later on. The Rustenburg Film Festival 2024 is a signature film event that happens every year in Rustenburg, where filmmakers gather from all over the world and South for a jam-packed 4 days of masterclasses, screening, and seminars. Without any waste of time, let's get into it. I'll go straight to you, Paballo, because they say ladies first. Please introduce yourself just briefly.
Hi, Lina Lakake Paballo Mokwena. I come from Rustenburg, and I am the writer and director of Equilibrium. I am a filmmaker, I am a shapeshifter, I am a thinker, and I love to tell stories.
Lovely. Can you go straight to Tebogo just to introduce yourself, sir?
Hello, everyone. My name is Tebogo Mankge, aka Mr. Producer, and I'm a filmmaker, and I'm also the director of Amapiano, Pioneering DJs. I'm from Middelburg in Mpumalanga, also known as 1050.
Lovely. For those who are at home and watching right now and joining us right now, who don't know what the inside story is about. It's all about getting to know about the filmmakers who are part of the Rustenburg Film Festival 2024 and also get to know more about their work. So we're going to go straight into it a bit more later on. I just want to go back to Paballo so that she gets into it now. Tell us who she really is. Where did this filmmaking start? Let's go to you, Paballo.
So it started when I was in grade 4. All the girls had to audition for the nativity play because it was our year to put on the nativity play. So then I got cast as the main character, and then I was like, oh, okay, I see something. There's something there. I really felt like I came alive when I was on the stage. And then fast forward to varsity, I studied film and television, and I have been telling stories ever since.
Where did you study and how long did it take? What did you study for? What did you specialize in?
I studied film and television at the University of Johannesburg. So I am qualified. I'm a qualified filmmaker. I also went to Actor Spaces Academy to get my acting qualification. I then furthered my studies. I went to the Umuzi Academy to get my advertising certification. It took many, many years to get where I am now. And I feel like I'm still on my journey of learning and of developing and evolving my craft, evolving in my craft.
Beautiful, beautiful. We'll get back to you just now, Paballo. I want to go to Tebogo so that he tells us where did it start for him. Where did you start, say?
For me, it really started after leaving my primary career, which was electrical. I'm a qualified electrical maintenance artisan. So before then, I just followed the typical route, from people who come from, in Rustenburg and Northwest, there's a lot of mines and stuff. So typically, after finishing school, you want to maybe go study engineering or something that is related to having you end up working around the mines. So my story was the same until God had other plans, which were after qualifying, somehow ended up going to varsity. But instead of like just, going to study engineering, I wanted to learn more about film. I don't have any background on like studying theater or film before, So I just, right after doing electricity, I just decided, what, I just want to start with film. And the school which God led me to was after. So I went to after Johannesburg. And then that's where my journey really, really began. I learned from scratch. And I actually took television, from my second year, because back then after had the option of, allowing you to get exposed to different disciplines. So in the first year, initially you would study television and you also study film, like film producing and animation. Then you would study television, from producing television to writing television. So I fell in love with television. I didn't even know there was even a huge difference between the two. So I fell in love with television. So I continued with television, majoring in producing, writing, and directing.
Lovely. So we've got graduates today who graduated in film from the University of Johannesburg and AFDA. So, Paballo Letebogo, for someone who's sitting at home and who's wondering where they can start or how they can go about, do you guys tell us about education in film and the television industry? Do you guys value it? Is it working out for you? How was your learning challenges and your milestone, perhaps?
I would say that in the times that we find ourselves now, it's very, not necessarily easy, but there's so much education on film and television that is accessible unto us. First of all, YouTube is our friend. YouTube teaches us about all the gear that's coming out. YouTube teaches us about the many things that we find in the film and television industry. There's also courses that we can do. So I wouldn't say that artists should always take the varsity route or the higher tertiary institution route. That's not, we can't all go in the same route. Some of us don't even get to study. Some of us just go into the industry straight. But I do believe that teaching yourself and upskilling, whether you are beginner, intermediate, professional, is very, very necessary because our industry changes a lot. There's a lot of resources that we use. There's a lot of technological advancements that we have to keep up with. So learning is a huge part of the journey, and there's different avenues because it's a creative industry. There's creative ways to find and to carve your path.
Right. Yeah, I extremely value education. I think it also goes down to you as an individual as to what type of a student are you. Me personally, I learn better when I have like a teacher. I learn better when I have someone I could always turn to ask questions. um I don't doubt YouTube. I don't doubt there's even masterclass. I think it has the likes of Scorsese teaching you. So there's so many amazing platforms out there. But for me personally, I prefer having someone I can always, like, even call or email, and I know that they can respond, or I could see. um and I think going to after I actually had that, my hand was always up. So I think it's really tricky to be learning, especially film art is a very, very interesting discipline on its own. Whether you're studying a violin or just art, is very complicated. So not only do you need, like, or for me, I would say you need like teachers. You also need a community. Like YouTube, maybe you may not have that much of a community because you're on your own. But for me, I mean, like, the people that I went to school with, they're the very same people that I worked with in, for example, in this project. So I've managed to have meaningful relationships with these guys. I mean, since day one, not only were we learning, afterwards, a very practical school. So even when you try to be practical, if you don't have the resources, at least at school you will have the resources. But remember, there's a caveat, because film school in general, they are expensive in our country. Whether it's after, generally, university is expensive in our country, even if you go to UJ. So I mean, thanks to NFEF, we know there are bursaries now, so you can apply as a filmmaker. If you're watching this and you're like, how can I get to these film schools? Please apply. They always, have a call out. So I extremely value, like, just go there and learn. Like, yes, YouTube is great and whatever, but I mean, in South Africa, we have the NFEF, and they are doing their absolute best to make sure that at least you get some funding. Try them out. Ask at home if they have money. If you come from a decent family and they have the money and they're willing to pay for you, go to school physically, and make those. I mean, I can't emphasize how relationships are so important in our industry.
Really
Your
value
editor can drop you, today, and then, who do you call? Because you need to have, and you can't just call a random person. You need to call someone at least that someone would, like, in 3 hours they can get the sequence out. So yeah, I extremely value education. I think it's, success for me is education, in your respective field, whether it's cinematography, color grading, editor, you know what I mean. So I think for me, for anyone listening, definitely go to school. Start there. I think school will enlighten you, because also within school, you will also get exposed to other disciplines. In our industry, there's other disciplines that you sometimes forced to learn, even if you don't want to. You need to know that, why is your editor telling you this is going to take an hour, when you're like, no, but it's just a minute, and you want them to trim. You need to understand what all these intricacies. Yeah.
Definitely. Well, to sum that up, ladies and gents, boys and girls, who keeps on coming in on our session, we all value education, whether it's a formal education or informal education. Education is education. Education is key. Denzel likes saying, practice makes improvement. So we keep improving, we keep learning, we keep growing. So let's go back to the classroom, guys, because now it's where you learned about film and television, about creating, about producing, about directing, about doing all these amazing things in a creative space. What were some of your challenges? Let me start with you, Tebogo, because your mind is still fresh from valuing education.
Yeah, I think for me it was coming out of an environment that doesn't have any arts at all. I think it's a huge leap. Like I said to you, like, you have to first consider my environment in Middleburg. It's just mines around, there's there's no theater, there's no art, there's, what is art, what is a thespian, like understanding all those things. Sure, now maybe it's a little bit different, people do skits and whatever, but back then it was such a far-fetched dream. Do you know what I mean? So, in the classroom, some people go into the classroom, they already have a taste of, some people already know what they want to do. They know the vibes, they know blocking, they know the basics of drama, filming. I didn't have that. I didn't, I had to literally start from scratch, so that was a huge challenge for
Talking about
me.
the basics, sorry to interject there. Talking about the basics, what's that one thing that when you learn that thing, you're like, man, this thing, my man. I mean, it's obvious. What is that one thing that you felt stupid about learning? Oh, okay, this is a blocking. What's that one thing while you were in a classroom?
Okay, so like for stage, you're not supposed to show your back, and that goes for even if you sing at church, and you're going back, you were leading a song, you're not supposed to show your back, what I mean, as a performer, what I mean. And when you start paying attention to stage performance, you start noticing these things. So like, oh, okay, no, I see what you mean. What I mean? Things like jumping the line, you didn't know that when they place cameras, there's a certain line, yeah, 180-degree rule. Do you know what I mean? Like, so there's just so many things, what I mean, like not looking at the camera directly, you're breaking the fourth wall. What is even the fourth wall? I can go on, so those are some
And
of the things. Do you
let's
get
jump
what I'm trying to
straight
say?
into milestones before we go back to Paballo about her challenges in a classroom. Your milestone now in a classroom at school, you still at Avda, you're still studying up as a filmmaker. What are some of your amazing, outstanding, remarkable milestones that when you remember, you drop a tear of joy?
Yo, I have a lot of them, like from first year after finishing the term. For us to pass it after, you have to make a project. So the first milestone is to make a tangible project that you could see. So I was the head editor and I managed to edit like a trailer for like a music magazine show, Eclectic Avenue. I remember it so vividly. So to watch that trailer, it came out really well. I'm like, oh my, I actually creatively, put this together. And back then we were still even using Final Cut Pro, not even before Premiere Pro. Final Cut Pro, if you make a cut, you have to render. Now you can just edit and edit. You don't have to render. Then, I mean, at the end of that first year, I finally managed to direct my first film, which was Bad Decisions, and it was a minute. When you get to a film school, you think you're gonna get at least 5 minutes of film, and they're like, no, the challenge is you have to do a minute of a film, well, like, why? But you start to understand why a minute is also very challenging. But to get it done and to see people watching it, that was also like a huge milestone. I can go on. I mean, in that year when I was doing my experimental festival project, I got to direct a documentary focused on our culture, and one of my lead, what you call subject or participant was Hulisane Ravele, so we went to Venda, to do a whole documentary around the culture of women getting married, all around that. We met the chief, I mean, and then when we screened the project and I looked at her, she was crying, she was teary, for me to see that. And obviously the people were there, they were happy, they enjoyed the film, even my lectures, they enjoyed the project, the documentary film, so I learned a lot from that journey. So those are also that's one of my huge, I have a lot, but I think I'm just gonna, stop it there now. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Tebogo. I think I'm losing Paballo, but anyways, amazing, 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 amazing background, my brother. So until we have Paballo back, I'll just continue with you, man. I just want to know, since we are talking about milestones, since we're talking about valuing education, after studying and after finding yourself as a filmmaker, what defines you as a filmmaker? And then what you stand for as a filmmaker, and what kind of stories do you want to bring to the world, do you want to bring to the creative industry?
Those are really good question. I think the stories that I wanna really tell stories that I have Black consciousness. We don't have a lot of positive Black consciousness stories that are done in this say, and most of the media or the films we consume, and I'm also guilty of that if I'm being honest. American stories, Europe, or even some, nowadays there's a huge Asian wave of, media that we consume in terms of film. So, local, Pan-African, black conscious driven stories. Those are the stories that I wanna tell. I would even go as far as to say, stories about, you and me, black people stories, what I mean, like this piano documentary, you understand, is for you and me. Like, it doesn't matter your age. Anytime you sit down and you watch it, you'll understand it and you'll get it. You'll also understand, the guys who actually made this project, where they come from. You see it in the project. You see it in the project. So those are the kind of stories that I want to make. Grounded stories, but black stories, if I'm being honest. The stories that speak to, about me and you, and our everyday life and struggles.
Lovely, amazing, man. We have Paballo back, ladies and gents. Let's go back to Paballo. She probably had some, some. Paballo, we left off whereby you were talking about your background, where you started at home. Now we are in a classroom. We are at the University of Johannesburg, where you study film. We just want to know what were some of your challenges and your milestones while you were studying at the University of Johannesburg.
Just to add on to my fellow colleague, what he said about coming from a town and then having to explain the fact that you are an artist, this is what you want to study, and then you have to convince your parents that you promise that you'll make it work. If they could just give you a chance, if they could just trust you, you'll make it happen. So I have had to make it happen, and yeah, I'm proud to say that I have made it happen. And then some of the challenges are technical challenges, because when I was in high school, I was more inclined to writing and directing, more performance work. When I get into the classroom and I have to learn camera and lighting and how to rap chords and the intricacies of using all of these things, it was pretty challenging. Also, it gets quite heavy to carry all of this equipment, but I saw it as a nice challenge to, get strong, lift weights, and then there are good things that have happened in varsity. There are a lot of good things that have happened in varsity. Making my first film, it was really great. The people who I teamed up with, we got to review each other's scripts, because I also like the fact that it's not about just you producing your work. When someone else produces work and then they come to you for a review or your opinion, it's a beautiful way for us to get our creative juices flowing. I also met a lot of creative and talented people that have inspired me and that are still inspiring me to this day. So it was a very life-changing experience. I became very self-aware, and I understood what it is that I'm going after, and I am after the truth. I am seeking the truth. That is why I believe in storytelling, to tell the truth and to reflect the times.
For the ladies that are listening right now, and obviously they are venturing into the film space, as a female, apart from the males who are in the creative industry, what were some of the challenges that you were facing and you felt like, is it because I'm female? Can you just maybe, have you had that moment, or maybe when we were just stepping out of university?
I have had a lot of those moments, because I find myself being the only woman on set, also being the only Black woman on set, which has a lot of its challenges. Sometimes you can see that they don't know how to act around me, because they used to being the guys. The guys are used to being the guys. They don't know what conversations to have with me. There has been a lot of unprofessional remarks, unfortunately, but I deal with the challenges as they come. I need to keep my head up high, and I can't allow the noise to distract me. I have been told many times that I can't be a female cinematographer because of the many challenges that come with using a camera, and everything is just so difficult. Oh my gosh, only men can do it. And it's just like, no, if you are dedicated and if you are disciplined, you can achieve literally anything.
Lovely. I see that immediately fell off at our graduate, you went into like you went a bit technical. You became a photographer, you became a camera operator, you became a camera assist. You were really serious about these physical things. Tell us about
Yeah,
that.
I was challenging myself. I was also challenging myself. I didn't want to stick to what I feel comfortable in. I want to be all rounded so that I understand the flow and the process. So because I did so much camera work, because I understood photography, that leaned into my videography. And then my videography leans into my directing. When I perform, I now understand when the cinematography and the director and the gaffer are having conversations. I know now how to place myself. I know where to be. I know how to move around. So I like the fact that playing different roles has made me like an insightful being. So I am well aware of what is happening in each role. So I can empathize as well.
Definitely. So, Paballo, earlier on I asked Tebogo, so now you're stepping out, you're becoming a filmmaker, you found yourself, you feel like you're well equipped, you are well knowledgeable, you are well informed and educated. So, what defines you after finding yourself? What defines Paballo as a filmmaker? What do you stand for? What kind of stories do you want to tell the world?
Okay, so I stand for freedom. I stand for the truth. I stand for integrity. Every time I tell a story, I need to make sure that it is based on the truth. I really do believe in edifying the youth. I believe in Black consciousness because I believe that we, as children of the soil, have so much power within us, and we don't always see it, we don't understand it, we don't always perceive it. So, if you can see yourself through the lens as truthfully, as honestly, and as majestically as possible, that shows you a window into who you are and the power you possess and what you can do to make yourself happy in this world, or to bring yourself success into this world, or to just flourish as an individual, as a Black conscious being.
Lovely, lovely, lovely. Ladies and gents, boys and girls, if you've just joined us, this is the Rustenburg Film Festival. I'm with Paballo, I'm with Tebogo. We're talking about their film career. We're just talking about their backgrounds as filmmakers. Now we're going to step into now getting into the real world. What was your first project, Tebogo? Which first project came into your mind after graduating, now getting into the world? What was the first thing that you did?
Awesome. There was again going back to relationships from school. So there was this friend of mine, Bushle. He was friends and he started working with these guys called Until. They were like an events company, I think. At the time, I had just because shortly after varsity, I had opened my own production company. So at the time, I had just opened my production company, and they wanted to do a music documentary film, but in house, almost like a research doc, about just having insights on the industry, what's happening, the trends. But the focus was like hip hop artists. So that was like the first major big project I did, not only for me personally, but also for, like 1050 Entertainment, the production company. So yeah, we profiled the likes of Jay Molly, and other guys. We interviewed, a lot of like hip hop artists within the industry. But because it was in house, it was only appreciated in house. It was never like published. It was for Universal Music, and this happened before Universal Music started investing in the likes of NSTC and all these other artists. Actually, I got to see, oh no, they're pushing Nasty now. I think maybe that from that project they got an insight. So that was like the first like major project. But then again, I mean, during after, we had periods of like maybe you'll be, on a school break for like 3 weeks, and within that you'll be working on other projects too, because I don't know, there's just something about being around the space that also attracts projects, and everyone is trying to do something, in Joburg, and sometimes you land good projects, and by the time you like second year, third year, you kind of know, how to do certain disciplines, and you are able to produce, good work for, for people who are actually willing to pay good money for it. So even in during that, I was working on some things, but I think that one was like the one that actually, made me even have that belief that, when it comes to documentaries, I can actually do any documentary now. So yeah, that's just one of those projects that actually made a huge difference on my film career post after.
Beautiful, beautiful. Let's go straight to Paballo. Paballo, what was your first project after graduating?
My first project after graduating, I went to Birthmark Agency. I was working as an intern. So I remember there was a time whereby there was a production, because usually we work inside the agency, we're just having meetings, we're doing more corporate creative work. So there was a day whereby there was a shoot, there was a big production with Yvonne Chaka Chaka and Squatter Camp, and I was like super excited because the client was Mzansi Magic. So they say that the interns are allowed to go on set, and I'm excited. I'm like, okay, the girl is ready, the girl is focused. I decide to take my camera along just so that I can take, some behind the scenes, interact with some of the artists. And then that gig, because the producer saw that I added like different flair to it, that gig landed me the opportunity to go to Durban July. And then for Durban July, I managed to shoot a lot of other artists like Thandiswa Mazwai as one of them. So for me, I was doing passion projects and I was doing corporate creative. I was in the music industry. I was doing Channel O gigs. I was doing, it was a lot of work. It was very fun. It was very affirming as well, because it made me confident in my craft. I grew up watching these people, I grew up listening to these people, and now here I am sharing space with them, and we are doing the good Lord's work. So yeah, it was amazing.
Beautiful, beautiful. First project from Paballo and Tebogo. That's amazing, guys. So, because now earlier on we spoke about valuing education, whether it's formal or informal, and you guys are from the same background. I want us to go back to the informal education now. For someone who's listening, for someone who's tuned in right now, who wants to know what kind of a character is a filmmaker? For you, if they were to say there's a young filmmaker out there, what kind of qualities do they have? What do they do on daily basis to, like, besides YouTube? We spoke about YouTube, that's fine. But what are some of the things that one can equip himself or herself with as a young upcoming filmmakers? Because I see once you guys graduated, you started putting yourself out there. You started implementing what you've learned at university out there in the world. Some of you were interning, and Tebogo, you were just, helping on some projects, I guess, and exploring and implementing what you've learned. For someone who's now at home and he's like, I want to be a filmmaker, do I read a lot? What do I do? Let's talk about a character of a filmmaker and what makes a unique filmmaker in this country. Sata.
Right. You need a cinephile. Fundamentally, you need to love cinema. That's just yesterday on Tuesday, I went to see Alien Romulus. I think that's the biggest thing. You need to get used to seeing movies, on the big screen. There's a huge difference to watching it at home. Avengers Endgame, when I watch it on TV, it's not the same experience. Nothing beats the theatrical experience. So you need to be a huge cinephile. You need to know your films. You need to know movies. I think for me, even when I meet people, we start having a conversation, whether you want to jump in on my project, unless I know you, because there's actually there are filmmakers who don't watch a lot of movies, but they in the industry, it's crazy. But if you want to be around directing, acting, the big three, big four, you need to know your films, man. Like, I think that's the biggest thing, because when you watch a lot of movies and stuff, like, you start picking up certain things, and some of those things that you pick up, even if you use your iPhone and you're saying you're shooting something for a minute, you'll start applying them, So I think for me, in closing, the biggest thing is just watch movies and get used to seeing them at the cinema. Like get used to going to the cinema. Like I don't even have to wait at home. When I have money and I have the opportunity, I go. Thank God for Stekenico, one of your partners. Every Tuesday they have half price, so I use that option a lot. So I'm always at the movies because that's where we learn. That's where we get to understand the sound, everything. When we make movies for the big screen. We make movies for a lot of people to come in and watch. So it's not enough to just sit at home and wait to watch it. Just get used to watching it at the cinema. And then yes, you're watching your movies, and let's say you're doing all of that, and yes, you are going on YouTube and you're studying, you have to do a lot of practical work. No matter how limited you are with resources, you have to get used to doing practical work. If you say you want to be a filmmaker, write something, even if you start with skits. I think the practical work is very important. Remember, even earlier I mentioned that as much as we were studying it, after we were doing a lot of practicals. That's how we were marked through projects. So every term we used to have a project that was out. So you also need to do the same. If you don't have friends, use your family members, use your nephews, your nieces, shoot something. So get used to the practical, because also the practical makes you learn programs, whether it's an editing program or whatever. Even if you start with, like, let's say CapCut, for example, start somewhere, learn the basics of editing. So balance that with the practical. Every month have something that you've done, even if it's just a script. That's a good idea. But if it's a video, even better. So I would say the same. You're watching films at the cinema, you're studying on YouTube, but you also be a creative, basically. Like, create, like literally live that life, create something that people can see, no matter how bad or whatever it may be. Just create something. Let that idea from your head come out, and then let it come out from your head, and then bring it to life. Create.
Paballo, you've got something to say there. Thank you so much, Tebogo. That's really amazing, man.
Yes, I believe that a filmmaker should be passion driven. Like, you need to understand what it is that you are passionate about, what it is you love about filmmaking, and just stick to that, go after that, understand that. And be active, just like the Boko said, be active. I remember sometimes when I was in the kitchen growing up, I'd like create a meal that's colorful, and then I start taking pictures with a phone. I start seeing the different angles. I start understanding when the light is attached overhead, then shadows are going to be created. So maybe you need to add in a full light. So creating is very important, because we have these worlds inside of us. We have these ideas inside of us, and the point of being a creative is to bring that to life, to bring that world to life, to execute the vision. So I 110% believe in what Tebogo is saying. I also do believe that you need to work with other people. In as much as it's important to know and understand your craft and to know and understand your vision, working with other people will also teach you how to be malleable, how to be a bit different in your approach with things, because we as artists can get very stuck in our ways. Once you know and once you understand your process and your flow, you can stick to it because it's what works for you. So if someone comes in and challenges that flow and challenges your process, then you could open up yourself to even more glorious worlds. So I would say, work with other people as much as you can. I would say create as much as you can. I also believe that when you are an artist, you are blessed enough to work with different disciplines. So let's say, for instance, you are a painter. I think if you want to take a break from painting, you can now do makeup, right? It's like within the same vicinity, but it's a different outlet. So also engage your senses in different ways as a filmmaker. watching films. I also believe in watching films. I also believe in watching series, but I also do believe in taking a break from that so that you can understand what it is that you want to say, what it is that you want to do, because it's very easy to soak in all of these things and then just end up regurgitating it, right? So I also do believe in, like, just taking things like a social media detox, just being one with yourself, because the industry requires a lot from us. We need to put in a lot of work. When it's time to go, it's time to go. So pour into yourself and love what you do and know why you are doing it.
Ladies and gents, boys and girls, there you have it from Paballo and Tebogo. We were just talking about, for you as a filmmaker out there, as a character out there who's learning informally, these are things for free. When they say being collaborative, being able to work with people, being able to communicate, being able to lead, being able to follow, and being able to adapt, improvise, and learn every day, those things are for free, because I didn't want to make people that are at home and that think that, okay, today we have graduates, so that means the only thing that can work is going to school. Not at all. It starts with you equipping yourself with this amazing, outstanding qualities. I like what you said, taking no offense in being wrong, allowing yourself to make mistakes and grow from them, So those are beautiful things. Guys, without any waste of time, we're going to jump now straight into your projects. We want to talk about what brings us here today, which is the project that is part of, or rather I should use the film term, which is the production that's part of the Rustenburg Film Festival.
To die daily allows you to resurrect yourself as a new being. Pare bophelo ke ntwa.
Okay, call the board. Amapiano, Souls, take one.
Interview with Josiah, take one.
What makes a song Amapiano, it's mostly the bass line. We took sounds from Pause, a little bit of Guaito, a little bit of commercial sound.
And then there's this other instrument, there is Panisa. Beep, beep, beep. And then there's a shaker. And when it comes to the bass, like, you need to talk to the people.
Piano, 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 piano.
Piano, lingo. Kubo, what a
Piano is about the people. And I really convinced the Zedin whether.
Ubomnandi is piano.
No, the moves, you gotta be.
Now go to piano. People are happy.
It's a beautiful sound, it's a beautiful culture, it's a beautiful lifestyle.
Amapiano is here to stay, and it's the future.
But yeah, it's not enough. Still want more.
Wazazi kijijini watakuwa watoto wao wasiopita.
Welcome back, ladies and gents, boys and girls. We're still having a chat with Paballo and Tebogo. Tebogo, another graduate from after doing amazing things, a content producer, a director, a writer, and so forth. Re tshwere gape le Paballo e leng gore ke photographer, director, and tell stories in different forms. So we're gonna go straight into talking about the projects that's gonna be screened for the Rustenburg Film Festival. So for you who's watching at home, I just want you to imagine yourself at the festival, you know, interacting with other filmmakers, getting to learn and know more about filmmaking, you know, meeting all these affiliates and associates that we have, or Stekeneko, or NFVF, you know, those kind of things. I just need you to put yourself in that situation and imagine what are the benefits of being part of the Rustenburg Film Festival 2024. Kana I said international filmmakers and filmmakers from SATA gathering for Rustenburg for 4 days, every day, masterclass, seminar, workshop, and for Paballo and Tebogo, they will be there. You'll watch their production and you'll get to ask them whatever you want to ask them. Even those stupid questions that we sometimes laugh at, you will ask them, you know. Let's go straight into it. Tebogo, tell us about your production that's going to be part of the Rustenburg Film Festival.
Oh man, amazing stuff. Even if I was not gonna be part of the the film festival, I was definitely gonna attend. Please, guys, attend. This is a huge opportunity. So the project is Amapiano, pioneering DJs. Here in this project, we explore the rise of this amazing sound, which is called Amapiano, and the story is being told from the perspective of the pioneering DJs. You know, the guys behind the scenes who made this amazing sound possible. You know, and the story is told from the underground roots to your mainstream. Music culture. So that's just about it. You know, when you watch this project, you're just gonna learn, who started it, what happened, where, who was involved, and there's a lot of questions, abanye bathi uqale uCabs, abanye bathi uqale, Josiah, abanye bathi uqale uLo noLo, to you learn who started, this amazing sound.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. The pioneers of Amapiano. Correct me if
Yes,
I'm
sir.
wrong. So now, Mr. Tebogo, we want to know what inspired this project. What inspired this project? Where were you? What were you doing? No, I want to do Amapiano pioneers. And knowing that Amapiano is so big in the country and expanding to the world and so forth, how brave were you to even start this production?
Yeah, ish. I'm just wired. When once you learn about culture, culture is big thing in film generally. Film is all about culture. Once you start understanding the concept of culture, you'll understand that music is a big culture. And for me personally, I'm a house head. I grew up listening to house music. I love house music, and I understood that as South Africans, we were pivoting to this new genre. And I was just curious, to say, hey man, what is it about this sound? Where did it come from? What are its origins? And the song that actually picked even more my interest was Ishesha Keza. When you listen to the song, when you listen to the production of that specific song, you get a lot of questions. So that's where it started. And I'm a journaler. When I hear something or read something on the news or whatever, sometimes I like to write it down, or if I'm on my phone, I just go to my notes and then I write something, and then I just leave it there. So it started like that, listening to more of these amazing songs that were coming out from Album Gabs or Album Show. And then the Scorpion Kings one dropped that album, which was a banger, which was like, all those tracks, the way everyone was listening to Scorpion Kings one. And then from there, I was like, you know what? No, no, no. We need to find out about this sound, where does it come from? Where does it originate? Who are the people responsible for this movement, And then from there on, I went ahead then, because luckily I had a background on working, in documentaries, how to approach research and whatnot, whatever. So I had that confidence, to know to kind of navigate on how to go about it. So that's where it essentially started for me, you know.
Lovely, lovely. So break it out for us. How long did pre-production take, and what were some of your challenges, when you were doing pre-production?
So yeah, it took quite a while, and the reason it took a long time to actually push production, because like I'm saying, it's a documentary, so you can go, I mean, documentaries you can shoot for 10 years, you know, so you as a filmmaker, you have to have a control to say, okay, no, I have to stop. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Because at the time the sun was peaking, you know, so we started in like 2021 with just interviews, you know, and then from there on, you know, after doing a lot of interviews, we even actually got to a point where we wanted to stop with the interviews because we were approaching most of the guys in the industry. And then from there, we wanted to go like through a stream of documentation, documenting them, all these big artists, you know. And then obviously back end, we're making phone calls, you know, we're reaching out, we're sending emails, we're getting rejected, you know. Some names, they don't want to do that. Some names are busy, some names are booked internationally, you know, but within that, you are also shooting. So this was a project where you are doing research at the same time you are shooting, at the same time you are in post. So there was like a, you know, all those, the cycle was going around like this, and like this. So now, you know, the biggest challenge obviously will always be money, you know. And then another challenge would be, because you're shooting a lot, you know, space and in the power of your machines, you know, because certain post houses, if you go to a post house, you find out, you know, they will charge you a lot of money, you know, to do, you know, be it editing or color grading. So those were infrastructure, I must say, to summarize, you know, that was a huge big challenge. But mostly also like money, you know, money is a huge challenge. So I learned, I mean, with each and every project, no matter how experienced you are, you always learn. But I think with this, you know, I'm even more sharper now, you know, as a producer. I'm even more better because I learned a lot about, especially the post process, and, you know, also the production process, you know, the getting the people, what I think I've kind of mastered that, you know. I knew how to get the people, and I've kind of been doing that for quite some time now, you know. So now I just know that when it comes to like the shooting and the post, you need to be very objective, clear, and decide, would, okay, I'm going to start here and stop here. That's just kind of that's just about it. I think if when the people come at the festival, they should ask more questions so that I can even expand more if they have any more questions around the challenges and stuff, because there's quite a lot. But the two biggest ones, finances, and also like, you know, post and managing post work, the load of, because it's a lot of footage. It's a lot of footage.
Lovely. Before we go to Paballo, I just have one more question. I know you're gonna talk about more of these things at the festival. I just wanna, because we spoke more about the casting, you know, getting these people, you know, I wanna know about the team now, getting the team, the crew and the production team. Because I see even on your profile you did production managing in some of the productions that you worked on. So with this one specifically, who was your team? What kind of team did you have? Do you have a big team or a small team? You know, and the other thing is the creative element and dynamic of the project, the color palettes, the treatment. Because I mean, Amapiano, they are very stylish. They are very, you know, what was the finalized treatment or the color palette for or the look and feel of this production?
I was heavily inspired by the Defiant Ones, the documentary series on Netflix. So that was the approach in terms of like the style and how we wanted to actually do it. And also remember the docu I told you about, I mentioned earlier, the one we did in-house for Universal Music. We wanted to also keep that style. So in terms of like my editor, I was working with the same editor. So we kind of knew how we wanted to shoot it and how we wanted to, you know, work around it in post. And then when it comes to like production, I knew some ladies, you know, from after as well. So I just called them. I knew that they could handle this, and actually, it was my production manager who got me a really good production coordinator. You know, someone who's used to working with artists. You know, So she was really good at like contacting them. Ukahleho, she's really amazing. She deserves all the nice things in life. So she was able to actually speed up the process of like getting the artists and stuff. And then, I had Lisijo when it comes to research. There's this lady I know, she's based in Cape Town, but I had worked with her before. So some of these people that you end up working with are people you have worked with before in other productions, and they actually come back into your own productions and they contribute greatly. And then I also have some of my peers, some of them are like my brothers, the likes of Obusia, I also had Noma around, but they eventually left the project because they had other commitments, so they didn't see the project through, but she's also like an amazing filmmaker. So some of the guys, that I had, I would say these are people that I've worked with before. The guys who did motion graphics, the designer is someone that I also know, within the industry. So my focus was really simple, was to make sure that I focus on like the scripting, I focus on like the treatment, I focus on like asking the right and relevant questions, and always like think about the story and how the story will translate in post, in terms of like the telling, because it's a documentary. So I need to know that if they answer this, how will I include it in the telling end, to avoid using the voice of God, because I'm not a big voice of God filmmaker. Where you have the storytelling. It all started in this 1990 what. I'm not big on that. I don't like using the voice of God. Um, so those are also one of the creative choices that I had to make early on. I wanted the doc itself to do the telling, and I wanted the pioneering DJs themselves to tell you about the movement. Even if it's not the pioneering DJs, the artists, the likes of Paballo and Neapel, I want them to tell you, because they are in the movement, and other DJs as well. I wanted them to tell the story about the movement. We just have to make sure that we ask the relevant questions. Yeah.
Lovely, lovely. Let's go straight to Paballo. Paballo, we are now focusing on the pre-production of your production. That's part of the film festival. I think it's Equilibrium, if I'm right. Equilibrium?
Yes, balance. So the name of my film, the name of my film is titled Equilibrium. Everything for me starts with a question. I like going on journeys. I'm a very inquisitive person. So for me, I was trying to understand the different chambers of the mind. What goes in the mind? What are emotions and what are feelings? What causes us to get triggered? I am a supporter of studying and understanding mental health. I believe in mental health awareness, because I just think that if you as a person have self-awareness, you are able to live better simply. So when I wrote the script, it was meant to be a production that actually I produced at UJ. So we were meant to pitch productions. So as I was pitching the production, my lecturer was looking at me like, what is this idea? I don't understand it. And unfortunately, it didn't get accepted. But that rejection actually fueled me to continue writing the script and to tell the story, which is the story of a 22-year-old visual fanatic. Her name is Retabile, but she has decided to split up her personalities according to what she perceives as her lighter qualities and her darker qualities. So she obviously wants to embody the lightness and the fairiness and the happiness that all life can offer, right? And she's trying to suppress the darkness. But I think it is important for us to know that light and darkness can coexist. There's harmony in that coexistence. So she is going on that journey of self-discovery. The protagonist is going on the journey of self-discovery. There's an element of experimentation and surrealism in that the thing that allows her to switch her personalities is the camera that she's using. So now we're bringing supernatural elements into this, just to not make it feel like a broadcast about mental health awareness. Like, hello, this is mental health awareness. This is depression. This is anxiety. It allows you to ask yourself questions about yourself. It allows you to ask yourself questions about how your mind works. It allows you to ask yourself questions about how, the internal workings of a being. What does that look like? What does that mean? And I've enjoyed going on that process because I wrote the script in 2017. I tried to produce it, but it wasn't the time. And I accepted that it wasn't the time. The script sat, and then I was working for a production company, Indie Village Creative, and then they said, because we are doing so much corporate creative, let's try doing a passion project. So we pitched our ideas, and then my idea got selected. And it was such a life-changing moment because when I sat in 2021, years later after writing the script initially in 2017, I needed to ask myself, which parts of the script am I letting go of? Which parts of the script is going further with us, now, because the times have changed and I myself as an artist have changed. And it was a really challenging process to even finish off the script. I brought in an editor. She also helped me navigate the ideas that I had in my mind and to bring them to life. And yeah, I just really love the protagonist. I really love the protagonist. A lot of people who have watched it, they say, we often joke around and say, we are Rita and Rita is us, because we can really resonate with the things that she goes through. So that is with regards to pre-production. It took 4 years or 5 years for the script to mature, and then pre-production happened over a matter of 2 to 3 months, give or take 2 to 3 months of script writing, pitching the visual treatment, executive producers giving me the go-ahead, finalizing budget, doing auditions, getting cast and crew, and we had a successful 2-day shoot.
Wow. I think if there's anything that one can take home, it's so much about, you spoke about being rejected, but you never gave up on the idea. You kept on going. Tebogo spoke about, calling friends to come and help, working with his friends. I think that's one of the qualities that as a filmmaker, you need to have people that you can work with. You need to be able to collaborate. Don't be an island. Ask for help if you need help. Beautiful, amazing, guys. I wish I could just, call the whole South African so that they can learn from you guys. Amazing stuff. Now we're gonna go straight into production now. We're gonna start with you, Paballo, because you are saying you shot for 2 days. So take us through that 2 days. Was cast late, was cast early. Hey, crew,
It's as if Tebe, the drama. Tebe, yo. So we kept the crew and cast at a minimum because there was some run and gun scenes. So run and gun is when you find a location or you find a space and then you know that you're not going to be there for long. So you take minimal gear that you can carry in. So you guys need to shoot. You guys need to make sure that the performances are lovely. And then you move on to the next location. So the first day was generally an okay day. Everything was fine. The crew and the cast were getting along well. And that's something that I don't take lightly. I don't like working in an environment that's hostile. I don't like working in an environment where people feel uncomfortable, because that is not true to the narrative that we were portraying, actually, because the narrative was all about truth, right? Second day, an actor cancels an hour before we are about to shoot. She just cancels. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we have had meetings and we have had readings and we have had discussions and breakdowns, and the actors have formed their own bond. They understood the cues they were creating. They were co-creating together. So what are we going to do now? We are deliberating, we are thinking, we are planning, and then I just decide, okay, you know what? I heard the voice of my acting coach then. I was like, you know what? Let me try and fill in this role, and then the AD can direct the scene, because that way we're working with upskilling, right? Now the AD gets to fill in the director's role. He gets to do what he wants to do with the scene. He gets to show his creative flair. Minzi Ndebele, he was a great AD, honestly speaking. I enjoyed working with him. And then I filled in the character role of the one friend. And It was challenging. It was challenging because I read the script, I was there like listening to the actors, but I had never said the lines out loud. I had never said the lines out loud. I didn't prepare myself to play the role. But we are blessed and we are highly favored. So it ended up being great.
Amazing, amazing. We're gonna come back to you just after talking to Tebogo about production. You're gonna act for us. I can you told the whole world that you're an actor. So in your head, prepare a 10-second piece Nyana, just to show us that you really did good on your production. So that we understand.
You are doing what happened on day 2. You're putting me on the spot so that I must act.
Exactly, exactly. Going straight to you, Tebogo, we just want you to get us to production during Amapiano Pioneers. What were you shooting? What were some of the challenges? You know, those kind of things. Camera wheel, you know, the food came late. You know, these things happen in production. Were you short of budget? What's happening? Take us through it, my brother.
Yeah, for us, why the challenges were obviously like getting the subjects to arrive on time. Many of them, they were quite nervous in coming in to do interviews, and many of them that they are not used to like doing interviews. I remember, yeah, Kevin Momo was quite nervous, so I won't go into detail, but God bless Ubababa M, you know, for convincing him to do the interview. So some of the challenges that we had experienced earlier on, even before we shot, we realized that we were not going to be able to sustain the production if we keep on renting out gear. So we had to, you know, find a way to, you know, cut the budget and go find, you know, cameras that we could buy in the marketplace. So we did that. So we got decent cameras that we could always use whenever we have interviews. So basically, pretty much creating our own studio, a studio that is you know, readily available, that we don't have to pay for, you know, I mean. So that was just one thing that we had to address. And then obviously the second challenge that we have to deal with was, you know, how to go about, you know, booking, you know, cinematographers, you know, to shoot, you know, whenever the very same artists agree to be shot, or whenever we're going around on the streets to do cutaways, or you know, or you know, ama voiceovers and stuff like that. And yeah, we had to, you know, find at least maybe like 3 or 4 people that we could always turn to when one is saying, no, I'm busy this weekend. You can call the other one, because it's a huge challenge, you know. You never know when someone is going to say yes, you can come and document me in the studio, or someone's going to say yes, I'm available, let's go to my wedding, for example, you know, to do some cutaways and to do some vox pops, you know. So it's a huge challenge, you know, budget wise, planning wise, you know, I mean, logistic wise. So, you know, again, with the budget, you need to try to, you know, Juba, you know, you're always cutting with with the budget. And another challenge is also obviously like safety, when you have to travel late at night, traveling to long distance locations. I remember when we got an opportunity to come to go and document Musa Keys, and he was going to perform in Pulukana, and I think he's from that side, you know. So it's a huge opportunity to get him, you know, in an area to move away actually from Joburg, because beyond at the time was, you know, all over the province essentially. And these guys, they travel to different provinces. It was like sudden, you know. So it was a huge challenge, because now you have to get a cinematographer, you know, on the spot, like within an hour, someone who's going to say yes, you know, to traveling to, you know, to Pulukano, to wherever. So, you know, just logistics when it comes to production in such documentaries, when you don't know when people are going to confirm, you know, in closing, you don't know when people are going to confirm the subject, or your cinematographers. Yeah, because those are the 2 people you need to always be available. You know, when you have a scene, you can shoot the subject. You know, when you have a scene, you can go do the vox pop. When you have a scene, you can do the all these other things. When it comes to sound, when you have the gear, the sound, even I myself, I can operate sound, when you have the right gear. So it was those are the 2 main challenges that we always constantly were facing, because the schedule was not definite. It was always chopping and changing. So the biggest lesson was to always be flexible and to always have 3 or 4 CDs around available. I mean, and also to be realistic with the amount of money you have and in the amount of money you can offer a person for a day or for a weekend if maybe you're traveling to a different province to shoot someone.
Yo, Paballo, Tebogo, you went through amazing moments during production. You know, if there's one thing that people don't understand about filmmaking, it's not that technical. It's so much fun when you are done. It's scary when it starts, you know, why am I getting this? Why am I getting that? You know, but once you start, the biggest thing is to start. Once you start, everything flows. Everything flows. When you get stuck, you improvise, you move on. You know, when the budget is it's cut short, you make a plan. You know, so that kind of a thing, guys, I commend you for it, and we are very grateful that today we've got this 2 beautiful productions that you guys produced. But we're just gonna go to post-production, because now post-production include you guys being part of the Rustenburg Film Festival. I want you guys to just tell us about what interests you in the Rustenburg Film Festival. How do you know about this? And then why do you feel like this is the relevant platform for production? But before that, just tell us briefly about your post-production, you know, editing, you know, coloring, you know, going back to the treatment and so forth. Let's start with you, Paballo.
Post-production took some time on my end because it just took time. The story just needed to take its time. Sometimes as artists, we need to realize when it's time. I mean, we need to realize when you can't always force things. The story will naturally unfold. So initially, I was going for like a moody film. I was going for something that was a bit more dark, but it ended up coming out in a more light-hearted manner, and I was happy that it came out in a more light-hearted manner. Me and the editor worked well together. So the thing is that the executive producers kept on telling me to cut. So we had a 7-minute, they're like, no, make it shorter. And then we had a 6-minute 38 seconds, they're like, no, make it shorter. And I was just like, it took us so long to get to where we want to be. And now, you know, we have to change it. But then these are the challenges that we face, right, in our industry. If something isn't working or if something has to change, you creatively make it work. Also, there were some experimental scenes that we wanted to play around with. I had the vision in mind. I had the mood boards ready. We had everything, you know, planned out and set up. But you need to be realistic about what you can do. What resources do you have? What experience does the editor have? Or what experience or what resources does the production company have? What can we achieve in the certain amount of time that we have? You know, I'm also very proud of the editor because she was telling me how much she was pushing herself within the edit. You know, she wasn't always one to do like VFX. She comes from a documentary background and now she's doing short film that's experimental. So it was also lovely to see the different crew members becoming, like, they were blossoming and they were just becoming better in their own like disciplines. So that was also nice to see. I enjoyed making the music. I enjoyed putting together the VFX moments, the pieces that made me be like, oh, okay, because I would leave the editor and then she's like, hey, I played around. What do you think? And, you know, I'd just be like, I like that. I like working with people who are playful, who are creative, who are inquisitive. Let's try this. Let's try that. Yes, I may be the director and it's important to respect my vision, but I'm not the only one that is part of this project and it's not about me. We are serving a greater and higher purpose. So I really like working with creatives who are dynamic, who throw around ideas and who are okay with like changing it up and switching things up. So I learned about the Rustenburg Film Festival last year. My uncle was like, hey, there's a film festival. Why don't you go attend it and see what's there for you? And when I went last year, I even did a vlog and I put it on my YouTube channel. So you can like go and like and subscribe Paballo Mokwena YouTube channel. And after seeing what's happening in Rustenburg, because the Rustenburg that I grew up in, we didn't really have a space for artists to thrive and to flourish. Like, where do artists showcase their work? Do we have art galleries? Yes, we have the cinema, but like, the cinema plays blockbuster Hollywood movies a lot of the times. So when I saw the Rustenburg Film Festival and the amazing work that they're doing, I was like, you know what? I want to see if we are aligned. I want to submit my film and see if they will have me, if they will showcase their work. And I'm so fortunate and I'm grateful because this is what we want. And as artists who come from towns, we don't always want to go to the city in pursuit of our dreams. We have everything that we need here, right? So why don't we make the most of what we have here? We can't all flock to certain places. We can't all leave to go to one place and expect everyone to be in that place. Let's do something for our towns. Let's shake up some, let's bring something nice, something different into our towns, because that is who we are. That is where we come from. That is the reason why we tell stories, because we grew up seeing stories all around.
All right, amazing, beautiful post-production. Let's go straight to Tebogo, because I mean we are just about at the end of our inside story for tonight. Tebogo, get straight into it, my brother.
Well, for us, we just had a lot of lots of footage. We did a lot of shooting, a lot of interviews. So to simplify our approach, we just had to first prioritize, trimming the interviews and listening to them over and over again until it's like, you can just say everything that, for example, Kevin Momo said or Semeti said. And then from there, start, do like threads, connect the dots. What did they say about, the origins? What did they say about, for example, COVID and lockdown? What did they say about the future? And then I think for me, the biggest lesson or the biggest huge challenge and a lesson was on data management. We did manage the data really well, but in terms of like space, it was a huge challenge. And also color grading. Color grading was a huge, huge, huge challenge. Um, and a blessing at the same time in terms of like the learning curve that I learned when it comes to like color grading. I'm so refreshed, and now I know way more how to approach color grading. The biggest thing I realized that it got to a point where even though my machine or the company's machines are powerful, they're not that powerful. You still need an even more powerful machine, and by the time you start approaching well-established production houses, they need more money. And when you look at your budget, you're like, oh, I don't have enough money. I mean, now you have to rely on one freelancer who, by the way, is also busy with other projects. They have to make time for you. And it's, they keep on extending the calendar, they keep on understanding the post-production schedule. So for us was a lot of footage, and then once we've locked the cards, obviously consulting our friends, consulting relevant people, making sure the story is right and whatever. But all these other disciplines, they were quite smooth, but color grading was just a huge, huge, huge challenge. Now it's like whenever I take on a project, it's probably on high on my priority list. And then with regards to learning about the festival, I've always been on Film Freeway, and then they started sending me more notifications about the film festivals, especially when my focus was always around African film festivals, South African film festivals. They started sending me a lot of communications around that, and then that's how I got to know about the festival.
Ladies and gents, boys and girls, that's it from Paballo and Tebogo. I'm just going to give them a moment so that when I go back to them, they should tell us how do we follow them, how do we follow their work. And I know we can talk all night, we can talk all day, but it doesn't end. If you feel like there's something that we left off, you can still come to the Rustenburg Film Festival, that is 6th to the 10th of November 2024, or Rustenburg. Just follow us on our social media platforms for more information, and you'll get all the information, and we will see you there. I just want to take this moment to thank Tebogo Mankge le Paballo Mokwena for being with us today. Also thank everyone who tuned in thank the executive of the Rustenburg Film Festival. Also thank our sponsors for the Rustenburg Film Festival. And like I said earlier on, this is a signature film event that happens every year for Rustenburg. This is the 10th one, and it's going to be amazing. It's going to be outstanding. It's going to be bigger and better. We're bringing you guest speakers, facilitators, they'll be facilitating masterclasses, seminars, and the screenings are going to be beautiful. You know, I think they're going to be in 3D, but I didn't say that. Don't say you heard that from me. Ladies and gents, thank you so much. My name is Tebogo. Paballo, Tebogo, guys, festival. Thank you so much. Bye. Good night, guys.
Bye.
So let's go to Tebogo. Tell us how we follow you, and we are out of here.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you to the team. Thank you to everyone. Thank you. Nice meeting you virtually, Tebe and Paballo. I am Mr. Producer. I am Mr. Producer on Instagram, Tebogo Mankge on Facebook, Tebogo Mankge on LinkedIn.
There you go, guys. There you go. Go, guys. Go follow Tebogo. Paballo, quick, get into it.
I am Paballo Mokwena on YouTube and Kwena Pablo on Instagram. My odd page Lenyora La Filimi on Instagram. So that's where you can check out my work. And yeah, let's connect.
Ladies and gents, boys and girls, it is what it is. We are at the end of it. Guys, I had an amazing time with you. Thank you so much. Good night again, and all the best with your film career. Film Festivaling. For you at home, thank you so much for tuning in. The likes, the hearts, mellow. Thank you so much, guys. Good night.
Good night. Cheers.
La fuerza que no tiene mi calma. Centellas de silencio, marcas en tus palmas, humo de canela, compás y tierra, designios del fuego para el fin de la guerra.
Ya suena este conjuro, fantasmas y demonios.
Suena este conjuro y en la hoguera, fantasmas y demonios que se queden fuera. Suena este conjuro y en la hoguera, fantasmas y demonios que se queden fuera. Y al tan tan suena la candela, y al tan tan y la pena se lleva, y suena la candela, y la pena se lleva, y se lleva, y se lleva, y se lleva. Nana del fuego y de la pena, deja que te cante y que rompa las cadenas.